What's going on, people, and welcome back to Total Oz Spurs and Delane. Southampton next. How you feeling about it?
Yeah, look, obviously we've got Southampton. They're not doing so well. They're pretty much in a relegation position, which is
Well, they're
not
last, I
great.
think, aren't they?
I think they're last. Yeah, I think they're last. But yeah, look, they're not doing so well. But they can show up against us. Those kind of teams those lower teams, they show up against us. So I'm confident after last week's performance. Against Nottingham Forest. I'm confident. Um, But yeah, we still got to be on our game. Southampton can just come out of nowhere and just pull it away. They got some good players. James Ward-Prowse, Kyle Walker-Peters, which is an ex-Tottenham boy. Who else have they got? They got Armstrong. Is it Armstrong? Yeah, Armstrong.
Yeah, I'm strong. Yeah.
Yeah. So look, they got some, and they got some play. They got some talent there. So yeah, we just got to be on our feet. But I'm confident we can get the win.
Yeah. So before we carry on, guys, if you're watching, make sure you like and subscribe to the channel and hit that bell button down the bottom to get some more notifications for all the content that we got out for you guys. But look, I'm the same with you. They're bottom of the table. They haven't done too well recently. They did scrape a win against City at home. But the thing is with Southampton is that they're a team that, what they've done is they've changed their philosophy. Since Hassan Hoodle got sacked, they've gone for like the youth route. And funny enough, their senior players, the likes of Kyle Walker-Peters and James Ward-Prowse. And I think the only way they beat us, because their strikers are absolutely shit this season, that they can't score goals in open play, is the man in the middle, James Ward-Prowse. I think he always seems to score against us with his free kicks. He's got great distribution with his corners. I mean, I'd love him at Tottenham. I honestly think he's the player we should be going for. I know everyone
100%.
says he's a Southampton player. Like, we need a better caliber. I'm sorry, but I'm saying it now. There's no one in the world that's better than James Ward-Prowse at the moment at set piece.
Oh man, he's
the
freak.
dead ball specialist.
He's a freak.
He scored more free kicks in the Prem, or near enough the same amount as David Beckham, and David Beckham was playing in the United side that he always took him. So for me, he's one player that I really like. I've always liked, and it's funny enough, back in the days of FIFA, he was always, when he was 18 years old at Southampton, he was always the player I would buy. And I know it sounds stupid, but I'm so glad he's become the player that he has, because I personally think he's a good little player. He'd do really, really well. I'd actually swap him for Højbjerg if it was me, because I feel like Højbjerg's. I feel like in our midfield, I think Højbjerg is the one. Skip and Sav got development. Bentancur's probably the best that we have. Basuma, we haven't seen enough of Basuma, but he can be one of the best midfielders in the league if he gets played properly. Højbjerg's the only one that I feel like we can. I don't want to lose him. He's a good squad player. He's playing well for us in the starting 11. Everyone loves Højbjerg and hates Højbjerg, but for me, I've always felt like we need more. We need better, and I feel like James Ward-Prowse can do what Højbjerg can do, but he's a much better passer and much better dead ball specialist. And for me, swapping them around would help us a hell of a lot more.
But yeah, I agree with that. But you don't think like the ex-Southampton midfield connection could do something?
No. I feel like we need to develop Sarr and Skip, keep Bentancur going. I'm saying it early, and I know we'll get onto the Southampton game in itself, but for me, I feel like Conte's gone because he wants to, not because he's being sacked. And I feel like the next manager's going to play a back four, and Basuma's going to strive in a midfield three. So for me, I would play the likes of Basuma, Skip, Bentancur, and that's my three next year. If we do go for a midfield three and don't buy any players, but if we were to buy, say, James Ward-Prowse, I would probably take Skip out and put Ward-Prowse in there as the box-to-box, Basuma defensive, and then Bentancur as the going forward, or him and Ward-Prowse switch over. But Southampton are struggling scoring goals. Defensively, they're not doing too well. They're playing a lot of kids. That Lavia kid is really good, but he's still raw, and that's the problem with Southampton at the moment is they've gone through that youth kind of setup, but they've gone too young. They haven't got enough experienced players. We got Foster. He would have been a nice older head. They've sold all their older players like Danny Ings.
Yeah.
So for me, I feel like this is a game like it's a no-brainer, and I feel like this can be, because the next 4 games we have 3 of the bottom 4. I think we have Everton, Southampton, Bournemouth, and then Brighton. If we beat Southampton, and the thing is, we've got games in hand on. Well, Liverpool don't have games in hand on us, but Liverpool have to play United, City, and I think Arsenal in the next 3 games. They're the ones that I'm worried about. Even though Newcastle won this morning.
Oh man, yeah, I know this is off the subject, but I watched that game. That was pretty good, close game. Crazy game, man. Crazy game. But yeah.
But I feel like Liverpool is our biggest threat to top 4. Now I feel like they're kind of, but they're still off and on. But they're like us, we're off and on. Newcastle have been off and on. So I feel like if we can get these next 4 games and we can start it out Southampton, I feel like we can start a run. And we really need it because as it showed last year with Arsenal, they had points on the board and games in hand. But as soon as we started piling on the points on the board, even though we played more games, it put pressure on Arsenal. Like, oh, fuck, we have to win because they're ahead of us on points. Yeah, we've got 2 games in hand. But if we don't win those 2 games in hand, then it's pointless. Like, they're going to be ahead of us. So I feel like points on the board and it's going to put pressure on Liverpool. They've got 3 tough games coming up, like back-to-back, 3 games. So it's going to be tight.
They've just been knocked out of the Champions League as well, so they're pretty much just going to be fighting for. I think they're still in the FA Cup.
Well, that's the problem is they've only got one game a week now, just like us. Yeah. Newcastle have 1 game a week. Arsenal now because they got knocked out by Sporting. Shout out to fucking Sporting and Marcus Edwards for knocking those fuckers out. Great game. Sporting deserved that.
100%.
Edwards nearly got a couple of fucking bangers as well. United are still in Europa, so they still have to play 2. So United, we might even be able to get 3rd. That's the possibility.
That's what I was going to ask you. That's what I was going to ask you. By the way we're going the ladder, I was going to say if we win this game, we could jump 3rd, and I'll be really happy with that. If we jump 3rd, I'll be comfortable.
And United have to play us. They have to play.
Yeah.
I think they have to play City. I think United I think we have us and Arsenal kind of have played everyone in the top 6. I think we've played nearly everyone in the top 6 already.
Yeah.
Apart from we have to play Liverpool, I'm pretty sure.
We have to play
Liverpool, Newcastle, and United. I think the 3 games we have to play left. But we played everyone else twice already. We haven't played poor, but the thing is, people are saying that we can afford to lose to Newcastle and Liverpool. I think we can beat both of them. I think 100%. Newcastle are very up and down. They struggled to beat a struggling Forest that we kind of dispatched last week in 45 minutes and switched off. Yeah. And that's for me, like, this Southampton game is very important. If we can get a win here convincingly, because last week was a very – and I'm going to ask you this later on, but I feel the way we set up was starting to look like the Conte system that he wanted to play. We played very, very attacking. Porro was amazing. Well, not amazing, but he was very good down the right. Davies again down the left. And I want to ask you, do we keep the same team as Forest?
Yeah.
Or would you make any changes?
No. Look, I wouldn't make no changes. Especially on our wing backs. Davies is really good defensive. Attacking, he's not the greatest. We know Perisic is a lot better, but
you know what though? You say that, but Perisic has hardly any assists in the last. Like his crossing's gone to shit. His corners barely ever scored. The only time he gets assists now is when he's doing the knock-on header from the near post, and then someone's catching it on the back post.
Yeah, like Perisic hasn't done much for us. So I mean, like Davies has been a lot better in that wing back role. I think it suits him. Like it is a lot of running for him, but look, I think it suits him well. So for me, I would start Davies. On the left, Porro. Look, the whole system, the whole team that we had the starting 11 from last week, I think it has to be the same. Like no. So
you're benching Kulu and keeping on Richie. That's what's asked because
Richie has proved.
He's only had 1 good game. For me, it's only 1 good game. However, I feel like he should have had a goal because that was a bullshit offside call.
That was a bullshit call. That was onside.
And he did a lot more in that game than what Kulu has done in his last few things. But I want that same energy for when Son's playing shit. This is what really gets me is I love Kulu, right? He hasn't been the Kulu of last season. However, Son's been dog shit for most of the season and he's still not being dropped. Now, I know Son's was at a different level to Kulu. And Kulu's still, Kulu's 22, 23. He's got fucking years to grow. So I'm not worried about Kulu being dropped, but I don't want it to be a detriment of his development either. Like, I do think he needs to be dropped, but I also I'm like, why wasn't fucking Sun dropped at the start of the season?
Yeah.
Why wasn't Sun dropped a couple of weeks ago and Dan Juma brought on or something So it baffles me a little bit, but I agree with you. I think the system that we had with skipping the Højbjerg in the middle, working their socks off, the back three with our wing backs, I think Porro deserves to stay in the team. He was electric down on that right side, got an assist. And the thing is, if you look at the way Porro is compared to Royal, now it's unfortunate Royal got an injury because he was playing well, but we have to have the same mentality of when Porro came in, had a shit game, was dropped instantly. Royal started playing well. Porro couldn't get a sniff. Porro took his chance when Royal got injured, so now Porro deserves to start, and he plays the way Conte. So if you look at it, when AC Milan's a perfect example, we started with Royal, and what Royal does is because he's got no crossing ability, he doesn't have the pace, and he doesn't have, the technical ability to whip a cross in or to beat the man and put the ball in. He cuts in a lot. So what happens is Kulu has to go out wide. So there's only two things Kulu's going to do: try and knock it past someone and use his weaker right foot, or he's going to try and cut in and cross it in with his left. That's all Kulu can do when Royal's playing. However, when 5 minutes into the second half, Conte realised that and went, Porro, get on. And that allowed Kulu to come inside on his favoured left. And Porro had the width and could beat a man, and it proved against Nottingham Forest that he can whip a cross in, perfect ball. That ball to Kane against Forest was inch perfect. Like the way he hit that, if he doesn't hit it as perfect as he does, Kane doesn't win that score. And that's where I think, if we can get Porro sorted, and then maybe next season, because I know that Davies is going to stay. Davies is going to be here until he retires. I can tell you that, because Conte likes him. If Conte stays, Davies will, even if another manager comes in, Davies is that player that they want to keep around the squad because he's Mr. Consistent. Not consistently good, but consistent. So if Doji can do that next season with Porro on the right, we will probably end up, if Conte stays, we'll end up being in a back middle three, because if you look at his Inter team, he had Eriksson, Barella, and Brozovic, because he had his wing backs. He had Perisic and he had I don't know who was on the right. It's not
Hakimi,
yeah. So he had good wing backs. He had fucking Bastoni, De Vrij, and fucking Skriniar, his defenders. So he had great defenders. Then his midfielder was great. Then he had Lukaku and Lautaro Martinez up front. So, for me, what will happen is, if we do sort out our defense, if Conte stays, Doji comes back. If he likes Doji, we'll go into a midfield three, and that's where Basuma will come back and play his best. We'll have the likes of Skip. Harry Winks has been playing well for Sampdoria, but unfortunately, I heard the rumours. He's come out and said that none of the coaching staff have messaged him. So it's unfortunate, but apparently he's been playing really well for Sampdoria. I'm not saying he should come back, but I'm saying he's had a good little season over there.
Yeah.
And I think he can play that transition role. So that centre mid role between the centre attacking and centre defensive, because he has the passing range box to box. He was never a centre defensive, and we always played him as a centre defensive. So I feel like if that Winks can come back like we had under Poch, then we might have some places in the midfield like people fighting over. Basuma, Benton. But we have the thing is that all our midfielders are the same. So for me, going back to the original point, because I kind of waffled on a little bit there, you're right. I think the same team. And then, but I want to see if Son's playing shit or Richie's playing shit, I want them ripped off. I don't want it to be, wait, we have to get ahead, because Southampton have recently adopted a counter-attacking style.
Yeah.
And it kind of like two counter-attacking teams, it's kind of like we need to be we may have to go into a midfield three to open the game up. But then we don't. But then I don't want to push it too hard. So I think Romero's going to have his handful with the likes of Che Adams, Armstrong, because Porro's going to be pushing up to try and create. So Romero has to be Romero of tidy, consistent, not Mr. Fucking I'm going to take you out,
Mr. Rash.
And then that'll leave Davies to probably help out the back four. And then Skip and Højbjerg are going to be worked in the middle. But looking at their team's a lot weaker than ours, and player for player, we have much better players. And it's unfortunate, because I love Southampton as a club. Gareth Bale came from there. The likes of Theo Walcott came from there to go to Arsenal. There's a lot of players that have moved on. Matt Letizia, Alderweireld was there. Van Dijk was there, I'm pretty sure. No, he wasn't there.
Sadio Mane.
Sadio Mane. Danny Ings was there. Like they've had such good players as a club. They're like Brighton. They're
Can you
talent
imagine
scouting.
if they still had that team? Can you imagine if they still had that team?
They'd be the best in the Premier League. If they had if they stuck with Alderweireld, they kept Van Dijk, Bale stayed around, Mane stayed around. They would have had a weapon team. They've had some really good players, great goalkeepers. That Bazuni is a good little goalkeeper though. He's young, but he's a good little goalkeeper. For me, if we aren't got for a long-term goalkeeper, give him a couple of years and I'd buy him because I think he's he's really, really good.
Yeah, definitely.
But he's too young and too fresh now. First season in the Prem. I think a couple of more years with Southampton, even if they go down to Championship, I think he'll be the next up-and-coming goalkeeper.
Yeah, definitely.
So what you're looking at scoreline-wise, what do you reckon we're going to pull out?
Well, away, so I think it'll be 2-1. I'm thinking 2-1.
I think it'll be open. I think it's going to be like a 4-2. I think the way that Son looked, and he has looked the last couple of games, the way Richie was looking, Kane, the way that Porro looked, he's starting to get a bit of confidence. He's pumping up the crowd. I think we might be in for a bigger scoreline. I think our defense will lack. I think Walker Peters will have
Sandful.
Sonny. He will control Sonny fairly well because he's when he was coming up through the academy and into the team, Sonny was his main rival really. Like in defense, Sonny will be running at him. So Sonny's going to have to pull off a good game. And I think Foster's going to be a big difference because everyone forgets that he was from Southampton and he knows James Ward-Prowse, and James Ward-Prowse would have hit free kicks against him. So I think that's a big advantage for us, Foster, because he will know how Ward-Prowse will hit his free kicks, and he probably can time it better than most goalkeepers. So I think it's going to be like a big scoring game 4-2. I'm hoping we go down there, they attack us, we fucking just hit them to the sword, get in there, get a couple of goals. I would like to see Richie score, Sonny score again. I don't really care if Kane, I know Kane's gone for the record, but for me, I think you brought it up the other day about if it was you would have given Richie that pen, just like just like Benzema did for Morata. Was it Benzema did it for Morata when he was at Real Madrid and he couldn't score? He couldn't hit a fucking barn door. And then they got a penalty and Benzema or someone gave it to him and said, no, it's even though you take it, you need the goal. And it kickstarted his the rest of the season. So
that's what I mean. I think it just gives one goal. Just give Richie one goal, and it might kick him off, to get more. So, but yeah, I want for my scorers, I'll pretty much want Richie to score. I think he deserves it. He's trying his best. He's trying everything he can, and obviously fucking VAR, fucking corruption. I call it the corruption. Obviously,
it's been poor. It's been poor. VAR is very the way they make calls this season and every it's so weird that like people don't know. Like obviously we're from Australia, right? So the NRL have had video referee for fucking donkey's years. They have multiple angles, and the thing is, the difference is when they go for a try line, or when they watch a try and they're looking for a hand under the ball to hold the ball up. If you don't know rugby league, if you go over the try line with the ball in your arm and someone sticks their arm under and you plant the ball on their arm, not the ground, it's classed as held up and you have to take a play the ball 10 meters out, right? How can they capture that in motion with 4 or 5 people clamming to this guy with the ball and they can predict it? 99% of the time they get it right when the ball hasn't been planted. But they can't draw proper lines or they can't have a side camera that goes up and down. Tottenham Hotspur Stadium has an amazing stadium. Why couldn't they have a camera that goes across and follows the ball, tracks the ball where it is, and just skims across the line, eye level? So when these calls happen and we want to check the camera, and as soon as the ball gets past, they can pause the camera that's on the sideline, and they have a camera following the defensive line of each side, and it can show you if they're offside or not. Like straight on angle. I don't understand why they can't do that. Rugby league has about 8 or 9 cameras that capture everything. They can capture a blade of grass. If someone's running down the sideline, they can see if their boots touch the fucking grass or not. Shout out to Jared Hayne against New South Wales. It's a fucking bullshit call. No one really knows about that, but because you're a fucking Queenslander.
Yeah.
But it's shit. And Richie's been hard done by. He has played better I mean, he's only had really one good game. I want to see more consistency for the rest of the
100%.
season. If he keeps Kulu at the team, that's good because that means Kulu has to work. And Kulu and Richarlison battling for positions, that's what I want to see. I want to see everyone fighting for it. That's why Son's been allowed to be shit all season because he's never had any competition. Because Richie doesn't play on the left and Hill was never going to get playing on the left because he doesn't play. He's not inverted. And Danjuma's just not a Conte player. So for me, if Richie fires, can only be good for the team.
Yeah, no, but I think Richie will score. Obviously, probably Kane and then Sonny. It's hard to know who's going to score. Like I don't know how many they're going to score, but I think I said 2-A. I said 2-1.
You said 2-1, so
probably Richie and Kane. Maybe it's hard to say Son because of his form lately, but I think Richie and Kane will be our scorers. So,
I hope Kane gets on the ball. Like I hope it's like Kane 1, Son 1, Richie 1, and then fucking I don't know, Porro 1 or something. Like I hope like it's shared. I don't want it to be where Kane scores 3 and Son scores 1, or like for my prediction 4-1. I want it to be shared. If you're doing 2-1, then I hope it's Richie and Son because Kane's already scored enough goals this season, and if Haaland wasn't in the league, everyone would be talking about how good Harry Kane is and how he's yet again scored so many goals.
Yeah.
So
I just want to make one point before we wrap this up. I don't want to see Kane take free kicks. I want Porro.
We're going to see Kane take free kicks.
No,
trust me.
I don't want to see him. I don't want to see
Porro
Kane.
needs to. Porro's got a much better foot. He got much better. He can get the dip. But that's what I'm saying. If we got, can you imagine how many goals we'd score more a season with Ward-Prowse in the team? We'd have better distribution from the corners. So and the likes of Eric Dyer, Langley, and Kane can get their heads to it, especially Dyer because he's got a fucking massive head. Then the actual distribution of, I love those crosses where it's a deep like a midfielder. He's, halfway between halfway line and 18-yard box, just on the edge, and he whips a ball in that floats, and all you have is the striker come get onto it, header onto it, or a foot onto it, just rifle like kind of like how Alderweireld did it with Ali, where he just pings the ball and Ali gets behind the line.
Yeah,
Ward-Prowse can do that. Ward-Prowse can switch with Porro. Porro comes in, Ward-Prowse comes out wide, and just whips a fucking killer ball in. Kane will score. The amount of balls that we don't put in the box, I feel like we can get 5 or 6 goals out of Kane Moore or Son or Richarlison or Kulu with a player like Ward-Prowse, and that's without adding in his free kicks. How many free kicks we've had this season? How many goals have we scored?
None.
0. We scored no free kick goals this season. With Ward-Prowse, that's an extra 5 or 6 goals a season. Add them on to the goals that Kane can score, and in the corners and the goals that we get from corners, because Son and Perisic can't seem to get past the first man, and that's another fucking nearly 20 goals a season we're scoring because of Ward-Prowse and his distribution. And the thing is, we are one of the highest scoring teams in the league, even though we can't score.
Yeah.
So for me, it's a note like this is where I start to think we could do a lot more with smarter recruitment. I was calling for Ward-Prowse a couple of years ago. I thought we should have got Højbjerg and Ward-Prowse and kept Walker-Peters. That would have been Walker-Peters would have been decent for us. Not saying it would have been amazing, but he's a good little right back. And gets up and down and can whip a ball in. So,
I think you're right. I think Ward-Prowse will be, a great player to our team, but obviously he's on the other side, so he's the danger man for him. So really,
he's the only danger I worry about. I don't worry about anybody else. Ward-Prowse is the guy that we need to. Romero, he's the one player we need to watch. He's the one player that needs to not be stupid, because if Ward-Prowse gets a sniff, even if it's 30 yards out, he will bang it.
Mm-hmm.
So Romero needs to be controlled this game. This is the one game you don't give free kicks away. It's just like when you used to versus United or England, and you go, oh fuck, David Beckham's on the pitch. Don't give him free kicks. Don't give him free kicks. Yeah. And that's what I feel like with Ward-Prowse. If we give him a free kick in range, I'd say about 80% of the time he's going to bang it. Again, especially against us, he scored against us like the last 4 times that we played him.
Mm-hmm.
So, well, I don't know, bro. I think we'll wrap it up. Like I said at the start of the video, make sure you like and subscribe to the channel. Hit the notification button. We are setting up. We're not going to do a career mode. We're going to do a online season. So, a couple of us boys are going to be streaming soon on Twitch, and then we're going to upload the videos to YouTube. We're going to sit on seasons, go from Div 10, see how far we can get up. Play with Tottenham, obviously. Fucking around with some formations. bit of banter, bit of drinks, you know, the usual shit. So make sure you, especially after this week, because it's international week, international qualifiers. I think it's the Euros actually. So we won't be doing too many videos, but we'll try and put out some FIFA content during that time. So shot Delane for jumping on before you head out for the evening. And thank you all for joining. And as we say here at Toto Spurs, stay Spursy.
Stay Spursy, guys.